Don't move. Hands where I can see them." The words sliced through the morning air before she even understood what was happening. One moment, Judge Alina Ward was walking quietly, and the next, a furious officer tore at her jacket as if she were a criminal trying to flee. The fabric ripped. The crowd gasped. And the man gripping her had no idea whose jacket he held in his fists or who she truly was. But this wasn't just an officer crossing a line. It was the moment his entire career unraveled. This is the story of a cop who attacked the wrong woman and learned the truth too late. Comment your city below. Judge Alina Ward cherished her quiet mornings more than anything. Long before courtrooms filled with attorneys and federal agents, before files stacked high on her desk. She enjoyed the simple ritual of a slow walk through her neighborhood. She liked the stillness, the crisp edges of dawn, the hum of a city not fully awake, the feeling of being just another person moving through the world rather than a figure of authority. Despite her status as one of the most respected federal judges in her district, Alina never felt the need for escorts, flashing badges, or constant protection. Her work made her powerful. Her humility kept her grounded. And so mornings like this meant slipping into jeans, an old jacket, and a scarf, blending in like anyone else. Her destination was the community center, a place she visited often, not for publicity or photographs, but to listen. She believed justice began with understanding. And the stories she heard there kept her connected to the people behind the cases. Mothers afraid for their sons, workers mistreated by supervisors, young people wrestling with fear of the system meant to protect them. Those conversations shaped her judgments more deeply than any law book could. This morning felt like any other. Clear sky, quiet streets, light breeze scraping fallen leaves along the sidewalk. Yet there was something else too, something subtle. A tension she couldn't quite identify, like a tiny thread pulled too tight. It began with a patrol car passing slowly. Too slowly. The officer inside didn't just glance. He stared. Long enough for her to notice. Long enough to make her chest tighten just a little. She brushed it off and continued walking. Unaware that she was being watched. Unaware that the officer inside had already judged her by her appearance. Unaware that the files she planned to review later that day, files describing a dangerous pattern of misconduct, were tied to the very man now circling the block. Alina had no idea her ordinary morning was about to rupture into a storm she couldn't escape, and that the storm was walking straight toward her. The patrol car made a second slow loop around the corner. This time, Alina felt the unease fully. She didn't look back, but her senses sharpened. The street was too quiet. The car too deliberate. Something invisible pressed against her shoulders, warning her. Inside the vehicle sat Sergeant Cole Harlow, a man both feared and avoided in the neighborhood, known for his temper, his arrogance, and the sharp edge of prejudice in his every action. He believed he owned the streets he patrolled, and anyone who didn't fit his idea of belonging became a target. When he saw Elena Black, woman walking with confidence, something twisted inside him. To Cole, confidence in people like her was a personal insult, a challenge. He never needed a reason to confront anyone. Suspicion lived permanently in his expression. And authority clung to him like armor. He pulled the car over sharply, the tires scraping the curb. Alina didn't stop walking, but she heard the slam of a door behind her. Heavy footsteps followed, picking up speed. She inhaled slowly, preparing herself. She wasn't afraid, just alert. Years of listening to victims' testimonies had taught her that danger didn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it approached quietly, wearing a badge before she could turn. A rough hand clamped around her arm. She gasped, not from pain, but from shock. Cole yanked her backward and spun her around with the force of someone restraining a violent suspect. The pavement wavered beneath her feet. Cole glared at her with eyes that held no kindness, no patience. Just the cold certainty of someone convinced they had found trouble. Alina tried to steady her breathing. She knew resisting would escalate things. She knew saying too much would, too. She stood still, silent, watching him tear through her pockets as if searching for a hidden threat that didn't exist. When he found nothing, something like anger flared across his face. Then with a sudden, violent jerk, he grabbed the front of her jacket and ripped it open. The sound tore through the morning air like a scream. Alina staggered. Shock flashed across her face. Humiliation flooded her. But Cole wasn't finished. He leaned closer, barking accusations that had no basis in reality claims, invented on the spot to justify the violence he had already unleashed. A small crowd began to gather. Phones lifted. Whispers rippled through the air. Alina saw everything in slow motion, the hands recording, the faces watching, the officer tightening his grip as if ownership of her body was his. Right then, through the officer's radio, a voice crackled. Urgent update: the federal investigation into Sergeant Cole Harlow continues today. Judge Ward will be reviewing the latest evidence. Cole's body stiffened. Elena's eyes hardened. The bystanders kept recording. The weight of his mistake hit him like a blow. But the moment was far from over. For a moment, time froze around them. Cole's hands hovered in midair, realizing he was gripping the jacket of the woman who held his future in her files. The woman reviewing every complaint lodged against him, every allegation he had dismissed, every life he had bruised. His grip faltered. But the crowd saw everything. Phones moved closer. People whispered. No one stepped away. Cole's panic rose like fire. His instinct wasn't remorse, it was desperation. He lunged forward again, trying to regain control, trying to force the situation back into his narrative. But Alina didn't move. She didn't flinch. She simply stood, steady and unbroken, her torn jacket hanging from her shoulders like a silent accusation. Backup officers raced toward them, alerted by the radio chatter. They arrived to see Elena's ripped clothing, Cole's trembling hands, and the unmistakable terror spreading across his face. One officer stepped forward, voice firm and respectful. Judge Ward, are you all right? The world seemed to inhale all at once. Cole staggered back as if the words had struck him. His knees weakened. His authority, his shield shattered in an instant. The crowd murmured, realizing the woman he had assaulted wasn't powerless at all. She was the judge investigating him. And now, the entire world knew. The moment he thought he owned had turned into the moment that would define him forever. The moment he lost everything. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments. As Cole was escorted away, Alina finally exhaled. The officers' hands were gentle, their voices calm. But the sting of the incident pulsed through her like a bruise beneath the skin. Her jacket was torn, but it was her sense of dignity that had taken the deepest blow. The video spread across social media within hours. People recognized her. They recognized him. The outrage was swift and fierce. Citizens flooded comment sections with their own stories of discrimination, mistreatment, and fierce stories that mirrored what Elena had felt in those terrifying moments. Investigators moved quickly. Cole's history unraveled. Excessive force, racial profiling, intimidation, falsified reports. Complaints buried under bureaucracy resurfaced under the bright, unforgiving light of public scrutiny. And for Alina, the experience reshaped everything. She returned to the courtroom days later with a repaired jacket but a changed heart. She knew now, not only as a judge but as a survivor, what it felt like to be targeted without cause. She understood in her bones the fear her plaintiffs described, the helplessness, the humiliation. Their voices echoed differently now, deeper, sharper, truer. Her rulings became firmer, her standards higher, her resolve unshakable. Alina didn't let the incident make her bitter, but she let it make her braver. Because justice wasn't just her job anymore, it was personal. And as she stood on the courthouse steps, looking out at a world still wrestling with inequality, she knew the truth. How many more must endure this before the system finally changes? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories.